comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Dollar, dollar.
Yeah, dollar, because rand would sound very strange. It's our Money Monday segment here on Power Lunch on Power 98.7. The silent breakdown. You know, last week we spoke about what some of the impacts are, how you feel, what happens around you when you haven't been able to find a job long term. And so the long-term unemployment effects on mental health was kind of a space that we ended our conversation last time and needed to pick up again. So this is part 2, if you will, but we're going down the route of if you are applying every day and you're just not getting a job, what does this crisis do, not just to your pocket, but to your dignity, identity, and mental well-being? We're unpacking the hidden emotional and psychological costs of long-term unemployment, a state where months could turn into years of joblessness, and that toll goes far beyond money. So in this conversation, we're going to bring together a financial advisor and a psychologist to help us understand the full picture about economic hardship, yes, as the bills are piling up, but also about some of the shame, isolation, and identity loss that may follow. So let me introduce you to our first guest, who is a financial coach and owner of Money Relations, Pabi Moloi. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, Pabi. It's good to be here.
And then our resident counseling psychologist, Pabi Moloi. It's lovely to talk to you.
Lovely to be here, Pabi.
Now, how am I going to do this? Because when I'm asking, how am I going to... I should go financial in Pabi or counseling in Pabi. Because I'm wrong, guys. But thank you both. It is just a coincidence that you do have the same name. So we know about the statistics. And sometimes if we are people who are employed, they become statistics. Like it's far. We see the graph there, but it's not our lives. And for many, it is their lives. So when we say as of 2024, the unemployment rates hovers at about 32%, but then youth unemployment around 60%. We're not just talking numbers and stats. In Pabi Finance, we're talking about actual people as well. That's what we're actually talking about, the impact on people's lives.
We absolutely are, Pabi. And it's beyond the 30%, because for many of us, we have dependents. So you might be employed, but you have dependents who are unemployed, and so there's a knock-on effect on your finances. You might have grown adult children who are looking for work, who fall into that youth category. There's an impact on you.
Yes.
Maybe you're a leader in your employment, and you have employees who are financially stressed because they have dependents on them. Their husbands have lost jobs. Their extended family members have lost jobs, and there's a financial impact on them. So it is definitely beyond just the 30%. There is a huge impact, and most South Africans, I would actually go as far as saying most South Africans have felt some way or another the unemployment, the impact of unemployment.
Pabi Singh, psychologist. Let's talk about that a little bit further. I mean, this is a person's self-esteem and overall mental health dismantled, isn't it?
It does. And remember, Pabi, we tend to take finance for granted, but actually it's one of the core things that people tend to identify themselves with through their jobs. For instance, that you are an engineer or you are a teacher or whatever segment you are in, you're already proclaiming your financial status and therefore proclaiming your ability to participate economically. So once you do that, you are already saying this is my identity. So when that is removed from you, then your identity is gone. And depending on how you find yourself unemployed, yes, now of late it's about 60% of youth who is unemployed, which means they are unemployed because of the circumstances. They have never been employed before, so they don't get an opportunity to actually be employed. But there are also those people who were employed before and whose employment has been terminated, or who have made decisions to leave their employment. They may have left this employment with decisions that they will do something better, or something better is coming up, or they are just tired, but they can't get something else again. That will have the same impact all across. It doesn't matter how. But it also depends on the time span. How long have you been in the space, and how long have you been trying to get employment, and what kind of responses are you getting as you are trying? And above all, what kind of attitude do you have as you apply for employment? Are you the kind of applying person and wait, or are you proactive in doing it? Are you also looking around yourself and screaming your lungs out to say, guys, I need to do something with myself? Or are you just that person who sits there and expects things to happen for you? Yeah.
And
So
I love, I love what you say there, because a lot of people talk about get yourself up. You go sell something. Don't you know how to make my keep? But you know, not everybody is entrepreneurial.
Not everybody's an entrepreneur. And remember, you can be entrepreneur in your job. You are entrepreneur to yourself.
Yes.
You are managing your own money as you receive it from your employer. So some people are good at that. You know, they succeed threefold more than those who are standing in a corner and sending something, or who are in an office somewhere in Joburg, in Sentin, and running a business, because those have extra costs. So you need to understand where you are and who you are. Enter the job market.
And Tabi, saying finance, let me ask you about this thing that happened during COVID, right? And we saw middle class South Africa almost being one paycheck away from complete poverty. So can you tell us, from what you know through money relations and as a financial coach, how long can the average middle income earner in South Africa survive before falling into debt or default?
Unfortunately, not very long, Pabi. Not very long at all. In fact, it's interesting that you mentioned COVID, because since 2020, credit cards in South Africa have increased by 50%. So it tells us that more and more middle-income earners have relied on debt just to get by. And so because there's this heavy reliance on debt, if you lose your job tomorrow, financially, and you don't get another job financially, it'll be very difficult for you to prevent default, for you to continue paying all your obligations. It'll be very, very difficult for you to do that. And the added issue is that in South Africa, we have a very low savings rate, meaning that, you know, there's this guideline that says in personal finance that we should be saving about 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, and that should be kept in a savings account somewhere, so that in the event that you lose your job, you're able to survive for 3 to 6 months. But because we have such a low savings culture in our country, many middle-income South Africans don't even have savings to fall back on. So really, just to estimate, I think not even a month, unless you're able to generate additional income. It would be very difficult to recover within a short space of time.
Oh, that sounds absolutely devastating. And
it's devastating.
Yeah, it is quite devastating. And you know, all the things in Tabi Singh psychology that you were talking about how, you know, so what do you do for a living at a party? And you go, oh, I'm an engineer, right? That immediately puts you in a bracket. It immediately sparks things in people's minds about who you are. And then this happens and you're not able to work, and you begin to feel invisible. You begin to feel unwanted. You also maybe begin to feel like apathetic. Why did I even study this? Like, what was the point,
Yes.
right? And so I wonder what some early signs are that someone's mental health is seriously deteriorating due to joblessness.
Mental health science will be like things like the first one that comes about is isolation. You start isolating yourself from people that you used to interact with. For instance, if you used to interact with people who are in the same league in terms of career, obviously you have the same kind of amount of money and you drive the same amount of cars, the car brands that are almost at the same level.
Yes.
So you take kids to your same schools, things like that. Everything is almost at the same level. And when you become unemployed and some of the things now start disappearing, you also start disappearing. And the biggest challenge is that generally as people, we form our identity with the job that we have. We link it with that. We don't say, I am Ntabiseng first. We start saying, I am Ntabiseng, the psychologist.
Yes.
Instead of saying, Kenan Ntabiseng, and just leave it there, you know. Because, to be honest, we are living like, the inverted aspect. In an aspect, we say, the top part, you only see what is outside, Outside is the money and outside is the looks. But inside of you, there are even bigger and better things. Your personality, your value, what you contribute, how you think, But our society has emphasized only the few things. The fact that you drive a particular car, you stay in a particular suburb, you went to a particular school, you went to a particular university, that contributes to the status of how you present yourself in society. And therefore, when that is removed, imagine what happens to you.
Yeah.
So you start feeling invisible, you start feeling voiceless, you start feeling like you are brainless as well. Like, what was the use, as you said, why did I do this thing? And because you start thinking of yourself negatively, you can't even see opportunities that are just in front of you. Because all you're thinking about is what you don't have and what you can't do anymore. And because you're thinking like that, that also steals the energy, the little energy that's left of you.
That is very interesting because from that energy could come creative ideas, could come anything. But yes,
Anything.
mind fog, depression, that's those are the signs. Your mental health is not doing okay, and that's some of the signs. So if you're, in a family or you know somebody close to you who's experiencing some of those things, whatever your relationship is, however it's constructed, that's the time to start really going, Chumi, we've got to talk about this, or let's help you get a little bit better. All right, we've got our two Ntabisengs, Ntabiseng Moloi, who's our financial coach and owner of Money Relationships and Money Relations, I beg your pardon, and counseling psychologist Ntabiseng Moloi on the line with us. We'd love to hear from you on 0861987000. A silent breakdown, how long-term unemployment affects mental health and identity. Right now, it's time for your headlines.
Speak up. Call the power line
on 0861 987 000.
We're talking about the silent breakdown. What happens when long-term employment affects your mental health and identity? And we started by talking about the statistics, but the statistics are one thing. Your lived experience is a very different thing. So if you'd like to call in and tell us about your experience, please do 0861 987 000. And you can also send us a WhatsApp on 083-303-7093. You can send voice notes there, short, sharp, and to the point, please, as well as on X, where you can send a text message with the hashtag #PowerLunch. Ntabiseng Moloi is our counseling psychologist, and Ntabiseng Moloi is our financial coach and the owner of Money Relations, both here to talk to us about both of the issues, right? The issue of how then you manage if you have no money coming in, what kinds of things you can do. And if you are in employment now, perhaps thinking of that day, what things you can start doing in your life. And our counseling psychologist, Pabi Moloi, is here to just tell us about what it does to a person emotionally to always receive those rejection letters, or the bills are piling up, and all the issues that you can imagine people would go through. So as I said, 0861-987-000, that's how you can phone in, and 0833037093 for WhatsApp. So Pabi Moloi, let's talk about financial planning. If someone is in employment, there's always the risk of unemployment, right? So what kind of financial planning can people start doing today?
And so I think in the South African context, it's very important for us to think about diversifying our income. You might be in generally a secure job, but we don't know what the future holds, and it's good to, in general, just to diversify your different income streams. So you can think about getting a property so that you've got rental income. You can think about starting to invest so that you've got some shares that can generate some income for you. You can think about upskilling yourself and getting an income, maybe from a skill. Maybe you're good at baking, maybe you're good at selling, maybe you're good at something. You have another skill over and above your formal employment. So start thinking about diversifying your income. And then earlier on, I spoke about how one of the issues that we have in surviving unemployment is that we have such high levels of debt. And so we need to, as South Africans, really manage our debt down. Our debt levels are too high, and it does not give us any buffer should anything go wrong in our lives. Even if it's not unemployment, if it's just an emergency, it's very hard for us to bounce back because of our high debt levels. So even though it's nice to use other people's money for our lifestyles, but we have to start looking at reducing our debt, reducing consumable debt, and rather focusing on debt that is, they call it good debt, which is debt that builds assets, debt to start a business, and not consumer debt. So those are some of the things that employed people can start looking at. Something else that you should consider is look at the debt that you already have. Is it protected? So do you have credit protection on your credit card, on your overdraft facility, on your personal loan? Maybe get in touch with your service provider, your credit service provider, and speak to them about getting credit protection should anything go wrong income-wise.
That's so important to do. And so literally you just go to your credit provider and ask for credit protection.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You ask them about credit protection, how much it is. In some instances, it might not be the ideal, depending on the value of your credit limits or your credit utilization. It might not be ideal to get credit protection, but it's a starting point. Just ask the question and find out how much it will cost.
And explain to us what the credit protection will do. Obviously, it's in the name, but explain the process.
So credit protection will, in the event, it's an insurance. So in the event that you lose your job, you get retrenched, your debt to the credit provider will be covered by the credit provider. So it's the credit provider that would give you this insurance type.
Okay.
And then they would cover your debt.
Sure, that's really something to do, and you're right about saving, because honestly, if you give yourself a little bit of a buffer, it's a lot easier. I imagine it's still difficult, but it is a lot easier. So, Pabi Moloi, when somebody loses their job, what's the very first financial decision they should make?
The first thing they should do is not really a financial thing. The first thing is to really take care of themselves physically and psychologically, because very often when you're under that shock, that financial stress, you can start neglecting your emotions. And I know Pabi Moloi knows more about this, but you can really start neglecting your emotions, neglecting yourself physically. And when you don't take care of yourself physically and emotionally, it has an impact on your cognition. It has an impact on your ability to make sound financial decisions. So the first thing has to be to take care of yourself so that you can make better decisions. And then the second thing is you need to think about how you're going to replace the income that you can are potentially going to lose.
Yeah.
Are you going to upskill yourself, get another job? Are you going to start a business? How are you going to replace the income that you're going to lose or that you've lost? Secondly, very importantly, and many people shy away from having these conversations with their creditors. Tell your creditors, tell them what's happened, tell them whether you've been retrenched or you've lost your job, whatever the situation is, and see them as your partner. Partner with them in finding a solution for you. Speak to them about a payment holiday. Speak to them about potentially restructuring some of your debts, but be transparent so that they can be transparent with you and give you advice on how you can move forward. But the transparency is very important.
Sure.
And then also consult with a financial advisor, particularly if you have investments, particularly if you have retirement products, so that they can advise you on how to move forward.
And would it be good to dip into your investments if you don't really need to? Like if you have a little bit of a buffer, you don't want to spend all of your life savings, or you do, because this is the situation that you saved for. Tell me, what do you think?
I don't think so. I don't think it's ideal. It should be the absolute last resort, but it's not ideal because that retrenchment is for retrenchment. And this is one of the reasons why the two-pot system was introduced, so that there is that buffer for emergencies, but 2/3 of your retirement should really, as far as possible, be dedicated towards your retirement.
Okay. At the very, very beginning of your list of things, and Tabi saying, which are very good, of what to do the minute you lose your job, right? From a financial point of view, that all is very important and makes sense. And Tabi saying, Moeketsi, from a psychological, emotional, etc. point of view, what is the first thing you should do if you lose your job?
The first thing you should do if you lose a job is to breathe. Just breathe and collect yourself. Stay alone, sit alone, and think about what will be the next step. Move away from noise, because everybody will try to advise you. When you're pregnant, you will say, "Hey, you must do this, you must not do this. Hey, your child." When you lose the employment, it's like that. A lot of people will come with advices, what you should do, what you should not do. Go back to your center. Ask yourself critical questions. What is at risk? What am I going to do with the loan or the bond or my car or the living cost? The most important thing is the living cost that you tend to undermine, that actually bite into our finances. And then, secondly, as Ntabiseng said, don't be shy to go out to the bank and say, guys, I have a problem. This and this is about to happen to me. I've been informed that this is going to happen. What can I do to protect myself? And have a plan. If you live a life that does not have a plan, you won't have a plan for anything, and everything will just happen haphazardly. So have a plan that month 1, this is what I'm going to do. Month 2, this is what I'm going to do. Month 3, until you reach your target in terms of a timeline. Fourth point, remind yourself of the strengths that you have internally. You may have been working in a particular job sector, but that may not be your strength. That may not be your interest. You may have been in that job because you need to survive, you need to have things that are necessary in life. Start asking yourself critical questions. What else can I do? Because most of the time, when you lose your job or you quit your job or you don't have employment, that's when you can actually tap on things that can actually give you money without you going to a particular job. So think along those lines. And more than anything, protect yourself. Protect yourself, have boundaries. Protect yourself from negativity. Protect yourself from people who are going to say everything else. The demands that will come through in terms of money, the demands that will come through in terms of emotions as well. You know, be active in your life. Interact with yourself. Don't just be sleepwalking through your life. And another thing, communicate with your family. Communicate with your family. Tell them where you are. Tell them what is happening, and tell them what you hope to achieve while you are where you are at that point, and what you expect them to do to assist you. You know, because we need to manage those expectations as well.
Yes, so maybe we're not going to eat out. Maybe
We're not gonna,
this is
the
what we're
clothes,
going. The what?
The clothes. We're not gonna buy clothes for kids every season. What are we going to do? You know.
Yeah.
How often can we have visitors over? How often can we go out?
Yeah.
Which kind of sports can our kids remain in, or which ones can we remove them from? What type of school can they go in? There are good public schools, but where? How? Transport? A lot of things. Just think along those lines. Yeah.
That's very, very good. Go ahead. You want to add something, Ntabi?
Yes, I do. You know, and also when people are going through that, they are so vulnerable emotionally.
Yes.
And they are often at risk of scams.
Scammers. Yeah.
And we also find that people who are under such financial stress, they also end up getting into gambling, which is a big problem in our country at the moment. And also it's so tempting as a short-term solution to want to get even more debt. You might not qualify, so because you don't qualify for the debt, the idea of going through Bomashonisa becomes quite attractive, you know, which then you end up digging an even bigger hole than what you started with. So, as Ntadi said, you know, step back, spend time with yourself, and just really think things through rationally. And if you need someone else who is impartial to help you through those decisions, I think that's also a good idea to do that.
Fantastic.
And mostly we tend to be afraid to have people that you can be accountable to. You know, have that someone, that friend or that uncle, your partner, to actually show you when you're off stepping. For instance, if you start depending on alcohol or substances, if you start depending on gambling, as Ntabi has said, if you start having mood changes or mood swings, being irritable, have just someone who will be able to say to you, something is not right. You are not doing well. And when you start not taking care of yourself as well, you know, you start not bathing, you know, not taking care of regular things that you normally do when you are employed. So have somebody to be accountable to when things are not going fine.
Fantastic advice. And we've got a voice note, a WhatsApp, and a caller. So I think we'll take our caller first as we talk about the impact of long-term unemployment. Lebo, you're on the air. Hello. Ahera, amohela. Have you switched off your radio?
I'm outside.
Askis, go ahead.
Okay. Is it not possible for people to just save by pay off their debt first, and then once they've done that, they'll be able to have income where they can save? Because I've noticed, even if you can save, how only debt, obviously that money is going to go towards paying back the debt, rather than if you had invested
No
the
debt.
money into the
Yeah.
So now I was lucky because where I was working, we used to have a financial advisor who used to come in the company and provide financial assistance. And he helped me pay my bond in 5 years, 4 years.
Wow.
Wonderful.
You know, so the savings I go to go and push the bond, and then So and maybe the people in the studio, maybe you should consider approaching these companies and advising employees on how to manage their finances, because we used to have those workshops actually every month.
That's fantastic. Really fantastic. Thank you, Lebo. Thank you very much. And also thank you for going outside. It's not very warm out there. So yes, thank you very much. I hear you both agreeing completely. We'll start with you, Ntabise Monogo. Your thoughts on what Lebo had to say.
Yeah, it's great advice that she was given. And I think also it depends on personal circumstances. And it depends on what life stage you are in. So, for example, somebody who's just starting out, for them, having credit might be what makes sense because they want to build their credit score, they want to build a credit track record. Somebody who is heavily indebted, absolutely, it makes sense for them to focus on reducing their debt and then on saving. So it really just depends on each individual's personal circumstances. For someone else who might be well established, they do have debt, but it's manageable. It might make sense to then focus on saving for something specific. So it's definitely just, it's personal and it depends on the individual.
And what
But
you're
I
able to
absolutely
do.
love her idea of having financial wellness in the workplace. We do that. Money Relations does do that. But it is very important for employers to realize that when their employees are supported with financial advice, with psychosocial advice, they perform better and they're more productive in the workplace as well.
We've got a WhatsApp that's come through. Unless Ntabi Singh, you also want to add something. Ntabi Singh, Mugezi.
No, it's fine. What I would add, Lebo has also said.
Okay,
It's
perfect.
okay. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Ntabi Singh, and Pabi.
Ntabi squared.
Shame. This is tough, eh? This person says, when I lost my job after 10 years of service, I walked away with nothing. But I couldn't do interviews or adjust in a new job because I was so scared and felt very lost. I still feel like I'm not confident enough. Ntabi Singh Moketsi?
She lost her job of 10 years
Eh.
and she got another one.
She says, I couldn't do interviews or adjust in a new job. So I suppose a new job did happen at some point, yeah.
A new job. Okay, so it means after the losing the job, because she says she left with nothing, she was knocked off badly,
Yeah.
and she couldn't pick herself up. And what I would say is that because it's not very clear where she is at this point, is that go back into yourself and be kind to yourself and say, yes, I'm unemployed, but what else do I have? What else can I sell? What product do I want to market out there? And work on it. To make sure that when she starts applying for a job, she is surrounded. And secondly, check the trends around the sector that she wants to enter. What is happening in that sector? What is recent? What is popular? Familiarize yourself and make sure that you're in the know. So that when you apply, you can actually be confident in terms of the conversations that you'll have with the prospective employer as they ask you questions. And the other thing also, work on yourself, your self-confidence. Don't get into a habit of waking up in the morning and doing nothing. Wake up in the morning as if you're going to work. Wake up in the morning, prepare your day, prepare your food, prepare your clothes, and look good. And go out there and say, what else can I do out there? The other thing that I always tell people is that, fortunately for us as psychologists, when you look outside, you see people. And when you see people, where there are people, there are problems. And therefore, I have things to solve. So look at life like that. What is a problem that I can solve? Do I have the capacity to solve it?
Yeah.
And solving a problem is anything. You can be solving transport problem for children who are living far away from areas of schools. Those who can't go to sports, they have transport on Saturday morning. You can solve any problem. Just look and look harder.
Yeah.
And when you look, decide on which problem you want to solve in that instance. A simple activity like washing sneakers started as a joke, but now it's a business.
Look at
So
that, eh?
look at what you can solve in communities. There is always something. And never be shy for money. Every cent is important.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so, so important. And I think part of what happens that she says, I still don't feel like I'm confident enough, is that the retrenchment process or the firing process, takes you by surprise sometimes.
Yeah.
I've literally seen it where someone has won top performer in their company or industry
Yes.
on Saturday afternoon at that luncheon, and then Monday they're fired. You know?
Yeah.
And so you are blindsided by it.
Yes.
And then, or it takes such a long time to kind of degrade you to the point that you even want to leave the job yourself. So I find that that's one of the things you've got to heal from. When you say, I still don't feel confident enough, you've got to go back and go, there was a plan in action to remove me from this position. It has nothing to do with me, my
It has
skills.
nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And I always say that very thing that nags you every time, I'm not confident. It's a statement of declaration. What am I not confident in? Ask another question. When I say I'm not confident, what am I not confident in? And why don't I feel confident in that area? Is it because of external factors, or is it because of me, or is it because of how I respond to problem? Because it's important to have control of how you respond to problem. Don't react, respond. And when you respond to problem, then you take the power back to yourself and say, oh, okay, they retrenched me. Yes, it was unexpected. Yes, it hit me hard. But why did it happen? Improve on those things and start empowering yourself and move forward.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. And I mean, that's really what our discussion is about, isn't it? The different responses that each of us as individuals make. We've got a voice note that's come through.
Hi, it's Gia. What Ntavi saying, the psychologist said, is really, really true. You tend to isolate yourself, and yes, you isolate yourself because you don't want to be a burden to other people. Because financially, you don't have money coming in. So even with social engagements, you draw back because you don't really want to be a burden.
Yeah.
I went through retrenchment. And I was unemployed for 4 years, and I'm going through the same thing again right now. But what has helped me is, reading stuff like The Power of Now. My religion has helped.
Yeah.
Associating with, I don't know, minuteness, essentially, just to see a different perspective to my situation and not focus on what I don't have. Because with, testimonies from different people, the more positive you are, the more likely you are to attract positive things in your life.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So it's
Beautiful.
it goes back to what you were saying, Tabiseng Mogetse, about really taking care of yourself. And I think in Tabiseng Monogo, you also said that you take time to just look after yourself first. Finally, was it a phone call? A voice note? We read them. Oh, we've done them all. There we go. So your final comment in Tabiseng Monogo?
Final comment is just to encourage people to know that they are not alone.
Yeah.
They are not alone, and there are a lot of resources, free and paid resources that you can reach out, that you can tap into to help you go through whatever you're going through in losing your job. Online resources, use YouTube, use social media for good, to empower yourself, to get into groups with people who are like-minded, who are going through something similar. Reach out to financial advisors, financial coaches. There are NGOs as well that can support you. There are government resources like grants and so on that can also assist you. You are not alone, and you can get through it.
I love that so much. Thank you very much for joining us. Tell us how we can find Money Relations.
You can find Money Relations, money_relations on Instagram, Facebook, and also social media platforms and on our website as well, moneyrelations.co.za.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time. Tabiseng Mogetse, where can we find you?
You find me on my cell number, 076-142-2459.
Okay, perfect. I love how you giggle every time you say that. I'm going to come help you make a TikTok. I think you could make a killing on TikTok, to be honest.
I think so.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us as well. This has been a wonderful conversation.
No problem. Thank you.
Ciao.